sometimes we, myself included, have been trapped in ego, wanting to go to where someone else was gone. They weren't really following the same path I'm on. And when I think about architecting your life or architecting your business, it starts with a vision.
Hi everyone, welcome to Go All In Show here on ABC 15. My name is Stant, and today I'm super excited to introduce you to my guest, Mike Zeller, who is the business architect and had helped hundreds of entrepreneurs here build their business. Mike had founded 12 plus companies and generating over $300 million in sales. I mean, that's already impressive, Mike. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Nim, honored to be here. So excited to connect. You show up in such a beautiful, powerful way, and ready to dive in. It's gonna be great.
Well, thank you so much. And so let's dive right in. Mike, can you tell us a little bit about your backstory? Were you born rich? Were you born
No, definitely not.
successful family, or where you come from?
Well, my dad was an immigrant. I came from post-World War II Germany, where they would have meat once a week. It was so the food supply and things like that were so rough that growing up, he often had meat once a week because they just couldn't afford it. So my dad had an 8th grade education, and he kind of worked his way up, eventually started in his own business as a, horse trainer. He was a semi-famous horse trainer for harness racing back in the day, and got some of my entrepreneurial inspiration from him. Been through the ups and downs, the losses, the setbacks, the trials, but also the wins and the highs and the lows. And, I think entrepreneurs, the successful ones are the ones that just don't give up. They get knocked down and bloodied and beat up, and especially in the crazy uncertainty of the last 12 to 15 months. And you just get back up and learn from your mistakes and move on to the next thing. So.
When did you know that you want to become an entrepreneur?
When I was in real estate, I was doing mortgages, and this is just post grad school. Honestly, I hated having a boss. I was a good employee, but I had this innate sense that I could create and do something beyond what my boss might guide me to do. At first, I was trying to be an actor and a model, and even was once a hand model for a TV commercial for the military. But, apparently I have beautiful hands. I don't know how beautiful they are, but at least one of my hands was attractive enough for the commercial. But as I journeyed along, I just kept creating and testing out ideas. And I've had a few good wins, and I continue along the path.
Few good wins and many fails, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't like when people ask like, hey, Nim, how many years have you been doing this? And if I tell them I have been doing it just a year, right? Or, I say, why does it matter? Because for those people who have been doing it for 10, 20 years and still where they're at, right? They're not doing it for 10, 20 years. They do it 1 year, but 10, 20 times. That's what I'm referred to. So I'm not going to ask you like, how long have you been doing this? But I want to ask you, how do you achieving it to, like the theme of this interview is about how can you become your own life architect and your own business architect? Because I believe that success is like 360-degree abundant, right? In every area of your life, not just the business. How can you get to where you are now?
Well, when you think about architecting, like what I often will tell my clients is like, when you're going to architect your dream home, guess what? You're going to sit down with this. If he or she is a really good architect, they're going to sit down and they're going to pull out the vision. They're going to pull out the imagination of how you're going to live in this home. Like, do you see your kids playing in the backyard? Do you see your dogs running, chasing frisbee? Do you want a little swimming lap pool, or do you want a cold plunge? Do you want a beautiful patio to entertain with a fireplace? And do you have like a nice eat-in kitchen? What type of themes do you have? Do you have big ceilings that inspire, or a cozy, intimate feel? So like when I think about architecting your life or architecting your business, it starts with a vision. Stephen Covey used to say, begin with the end in mind. And so what's the vision? But most people don't slow down enough to get connected to the vision, connected to what their heart really wants. And there's an incongruency or disconnection from the heart and the body and the mind. And sometimes we, myself included, I have been trapped in ego, wanting to go to where someone else was gone, when it wasn't like they weren't really following the same path I'm on.
Right.
And I don't want to be a cheap imitation of someone else. I want to be an original creation of myself.
Mm.
And I think our whole lives, all of our life, there's clues littered around our life if we learn to recognize clues. And I think there's 4 core areas. If we're looking at our business or designing a business, there's 4 core areas. But also in our own personal life, the 4 areas are unique talents. When you go through this process, you find what on earth you're meant for, and how do you make a living or a great living at it. So what are your unique talents? Second, what are your key life experiences? Like you just shared some of your life experiences, doing yoga retreats and all these things around the world, in Thailand and all these things, and defining moments. There's defining moments in our life. I had defining moments as playing college baseball and doing this and doing that and speaking for the first time when I was in my early 20s. And then the third area is your key relationships. Where do you have all these clusters of relationships? Or they give clues, like relationships that expand you instead of contract you. And then the fourth area is your values and passions. They give another layer of clues, like what do you stand for? What do you stand against? What lights you up? What do you have endless curiosity around? And when you put all those clues together, you can have the greatest accumulation of clues about who on earth you are and what on earth you're meant to do. And then you assimilate and organize. So that's my process for figuring out, that age-old question, what on earth am I here for?
Right. And I love it because I can see the whole house. I can see the whole room, And when people come to me, I think, I observe that they come to me with 2 things. One, I don't know what I like. I don't know what I'm here for. I don't know what I'm doing. Second, oh man, I have so many ideas. I want to do so many things. What is the, like 3 pieces of advice for them to like, how can you start and understand creating this?
Yeah, good question. I think a piece of it that you want to think about is like, hey, start writing down the clues. If you actually spend some time to ponder and reflect, and even going through those unique talents, the unique life experiences, the unique relationships, and the values and passions, you take inventory of those different categories. Socrates said, to know thyself is the beginning of all wisdom. There's a verse in the Bible, it's better to have self-control than to conquer a city. It's Proverbs 16:32. To know thyself is rarefied air for someone. Very few people truly, deeply, intimately know themselves and know their purpose at their fullest.
Right.
But it's available to us all. It takes intentionality to sit down and think. So first thing, sit down and think. And think down through those 4 key areas. And that's why even like the classic books are called Think and Grow Rich,
Right.
not Work Hard and Grow Rich.
Right. That's right. So, what about for those who have a lot of ideas, do the same thing, right? Start to sit down and think and plan it out and writing it down. That's such a
Yeah.
powerful, and it's very simple though, like, yeah, we ask
Mm-hmm.
you to write it down, but do you do it, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so awesome. That's awesome. You know, I listened to you before you talk about the zone of genius. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that everyone are genius. And I believe you believe that too. How can one find that? What does it mean to be genius? And how can we use that genius in us to basically decide our own life and business, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, my first book is that's coming out later this year. We just landed on the title this week. It's called The Genius Within. First, when I'm guiding someone through, which I guide a lot of people from around the world, really, through this process. And the first step is like have them go through a bunch of different personality tests.
Yeah.
And I know some people are fans of this test or that test, but it's like they all give you different parts of the puzzle.
Mm.
You don't say, hey, this is the complete puzzle. They all give you a different piece, but the assimilation and accumulation and synthesization of all the clues is what creates the magic. So I take people through a bunch of different tests. Then when you take a stock of your key relationships, all the clusters, you literally write those out, 10 to 20 different relationships that are meaningful and significant and that you want to connect more deeply with these people. Then you start seeing another layer. And then when you actually go through the life experiences part, you can do a timeline. Like think, hey, birth to now and
Right.
to the graveyard, right?
Yeah.
What are the key moments that you want to create that
Mm.
you've already had? And then also, what are the timeline moments that you want to create in your future? When you do that inventory, like I'm writing my first book. I know you've got two books, one already out and then one on the way, right?
Yeah.
So, like, that was a defining moment. I imagine you moving to America is a
Yes.
defining moment.
Right. My I have defined moment, but I also have my badass moment, Mike. My badass moment was when I first moved here. I drove through to McDonald's and I ordered strawberry milkshake. And they gave me strawberry milkshake. And I was like, yay, they understood me. And that was like my moment. And
That's great.
and Mike, I can laugh about it, but since then, I believe in myself even more.
Mm.
Yeah, I believe that I'm good enough to be here. I'm smart enough to be here.
Exactly. And so those moments, and then you anchor in, when we look at our zone of genius, part of it is knowing, hey, where are you a badass? Where do you kind of
Not so
stuck
good.
ass? Let's be honest.
Yeah,
We all have those areas, but getting really, really freaking clear about that, then you can let go of trying to be great at everything. You don't need to be great at everything.
yeah.
No one's great at everything. You be great at a few key things
Mm.
and kick butt. Be extraordinary, and then then you figure out ways to step more and more into it. People that do extraordinary things put themselves in extraordinarily right positions over and over and over again, but it doesn't happen by accident either. Sarah Blakely,
Yeah,
founder of Spanx.
yeah.
You know what her dad used to ask her every day as a kid?
No?
What did you fail at today?
Huh.
So
Okay.
it's also a different mindset. Your mindset shifts and flips from I got to be perfect at this to like, oh, no, I want to try things, experiment, practice,
Okay.
and move forward and learn from my mistakes instead of avoiding mistakes at all costs and only do what I think I should do or something like that. So it's a lot of testing and trying out, and then
Ah,
you get greater and greater clarity when you try out more things.
so is it the same like, I always say to myself and my team to like, if we're gonna fail very fast. So we know that this is not the right way. Same
That's
thing, right?
great. Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
love that. That's great. Fail fast,
Yeah.
fail
Fail
forward.
fast and then get back up and try another thing. When you fail, then you say next, next, next.
Yep. Love it.
I love it so much. I know you read tons of books. Like, did I mistake? Like, you read like 100 books a year or something like that, right?
It's a little less than that. It's probably more like 60 to 70, but yeah, I
So,
read a lot.
so is it like one book for 2 weeks or
I,
what do you
I read a book a week, generally, and then I'll listen to books as well. And I've been doing it since I was 20 years old. So I'm
really?
41 now, but I've been
Oh, I'm
cranking them
41
books.
too.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So is anyone tell you to do it, show you that you should do it, or it just come from you?
Yeah, back to that zone of genius part a little bit too. So when I was 20 years old, I was during finals week, and I had just signed up to be a salesperson for this new cellular company called Nextel Communications that Sprint eventually ended up buying them out. They were rapidly expanding, and it was dawn of the digital cell phone age. And I was a junior in college, and they wanted me to go to the sales conference. It was middle of finals week. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to that. So I did. And it blew me away. It was better than anything I learned that semester. And this
Mm.
guy, Brian Tracy, was
Oh
teaching,
yeah.
speaking. And he said, if you read a book a month in your chosen field, within 3 years, you'll become an expert in your chosen field. And
Okay.
experts especially top 1 to 2 or 3 percenters, they get paid disproportionately more than non-experts. You look at a LeBron James versus,
Yeah.
you know, Kelly Oberly or whatever. Like no one knows who that guy is, but we all know who LeBron is, and we know how
Yeah.
much he makes, right? So I was like, hey, I don't want to wait to be an expert in 3 years. I'm going to
Okay.
be an expert in a year. So I started.
You shorten the gap.
Yep. So I dove right in and made it a goal that year and immediately to start reading a book a week.
Mike, you inspire me. Because I
Well, good.
listen to audiobook. I have tons of self-help book, but I just like I didn't have a goal of the exact goal, right?
Mhm.
I'm just like being average. And I always say this again to myself, my children, and my client. I said, if average is the best of the worst and the worst of the best. And it's
Mm,
so bad to be average, right?
yeah.
Because we're here to be extraordinary. And you set a goal for like one book a year. So that was when you start.
One book a week.
Oh, sorry, one
Yeah.
book a week when you were 20 years old. That's such a life
Mhm.
changing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Now it's like I've read, closer to 1,500 books and it's stacked.
You must have like a library in your home, isn't it?
I have a lot of freaking books. I mean, on my desk, literally, I have a big desk, but I have about
Yeah.
17 books just on my desk, and I can see about another 300 books in front of me. So,
But don't you feel though that like our children, like they surround themselves with what we already create and impact
Mhm.
from us, and they're gonna just pick up those books and read, and this is like leaving
Yeah.
a legacy. What is your life goal, Mike?
I have several, but obviously be a great family man, have an epic family, and show my children and those that I serve and impact to dream and live them possible in the sense of show them what is possible. And what is possible is a lot bigger than most of what we think. As I mentioned, establish myself as one of America's top entrepreneur mentors. That's one of my goals. Another thing is in the next decade, I expect to write 2 books a year. And then what I want to help 1 million people have clean drinking water. I want to help thousands of people also get freed from human slavery, which is a big problem in the world. And there's actually 27 million slaves in the world right now,
Hmm.
more than the whole American slave trade. So it's little talked about, but it needs a little more press. Bunch of other big goals, but those are. We also have a yearly goal to live in one of the 50 most beautiful cities in the world every
Wow.
year for a month. So we'll go to a new city often, or sometimes one of our favorites again. But my wife and I spend at least a month outside of the country every year. And at first that was hard, but now we figured out a way to make it happen. And it's just part of our identity and vision. Even with we have our first newborn on the way, and we're going to do it then too.
Wow. Such a blessed. And again, you are creating your own life. You are the architecture of your own life. And not
Yep.
just life, relationship, business, health, and overall. Yeah. This is
Hmm.
this is amazing. Are there any quote or something that you always like hold on to it and you use it so much when you feel like you're facing another demon or something?
Yeah, I use a concept called alter egos. So I just led another very successful female entrepreneur through this earlier today, and I call it claim your power.
Hmm.
And when we go through this process, you identify a part of you that is showing up in a weak, disempowered state, the part of you that's holding you back. You give that part of you a name. So for my client, her weak, disempowered state was Amy. So that's just what her body brought up. All right. So we name that part of her, found out her good purpose. Ask Amy, what is her good purpose? Then asked Amy to go to the back of the bus, to no longer drive the bus of her life.
Hmm.
Then we found her higher, more powerful, magnetic, dynamic version of her. For me, it's timid Mike and magic Mike.
Hmm.
So magic Mike shows up in a powerful magnetic state that draws people in and helps expand people's lives, right? And then I speak and think and want to lead from the state of magic Mike. And so for this client, same thing, anchored into that more powerful state and then envisioned the future of that higher part of her leading her life. So when you do that, now, I love to say our identity precedes our destiny. Now
Mm.
she's rewired her subconscious identity and how she sees herself. And it was more often than not, people have breakthroughs in the sense of tears are flowing, identities are shifting. Sometimes literally hours later, they'll have an income breakthrough, they'll have
Mm.
traumas leave their body, whatever it is. So that's part of what I even do on myself is it's an NLP process that I learned and created really myself as well.
Man, this is so, so good. I want to learn more from you. I want to talk to you more. I know you mentioned about your book, but are there anything else that you're exciting to share to the world? What's project that you're working on right now?
Yeah, so I'm doing a scarcity to abundance challenge because one of the things that I've seen, and even, I went through a season where I lost $1 million, but I ended up remaking myself and had my best income year yet last year. And this year should be a terrific year, probably triple what I did last year.
Mm.
And when you go to shift from scarcity to abundance, it's a rewriting of your story with money, your relationship with money, the energy and attachment and the meaning that you bring to money. So that's something I'm really, really pumped about. I'm partnering with two amazing people on that. And besides, my Genius Within book is also coming out later this year, and cannot wait for that. But it's going to be an epic season.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank
So,
you.
so the challenge, how can we find all the information and how can we join that?
Yeah, that one's just scarcityabundance.com. And then the Genius Within, it's geniuswithinbook.com. So excited about that. I'll send those to you as well later. But yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun and cannot wait.
Wow, Mike, thank you so much for your time that you spent with us today. Are there anything else that you want to leave us with before we let you continue your day with your family?
I would say give each day your all. My dad is like 81, I believe. I
Hmm.
challenged him at dinner a couple weekends ago that he's kind of passing through life. I'm like, Dad, Carpe diem, we got to make the most of our lives, make the most of each day, engage, maximize the day. Like we only get today. We don't get to live tomorrow. We don't get to live
Yeah.
yesterday. We get to live today, savor it, no matter what happens in a day. There's gifts every single day if we look for them.
I think you really talk about going all in every breath, but you explain in a very gentle and beautiful way. Thank you so much, Mike, for being here with us, and I'm looking forward to read your book. Thank you.
Thank you, Nim. Honor to be here. Great connecting.
Thank you, Mike.